I'm fine. I don't want to pursue any type of benefits because there are some of my fellow veterans who are way worse than I am.
First get the rating, you're happy to get it, right? You're happy to get it, and you don't know what you deserve. Actually, you have no clue what you deserve. But what I found out over time, it wasn't until 10 years later that I even went for an increase, and that's through the veterans.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk with us. If you don't mind, just introduce yourself, your name, branch of service, and how long you have served.
Thank you for having me. My name is Herbert Hadley. I was in the United States Navy, and I did 30 years, 4 months, and 29 days. And I always say that because that's what my DD 214 says.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for your service. Well, when you first got out, what was your understanding of the VA disability system, and what did that reality turn out to be?
So I had a little different than most people because I really didn't know about the system, but I had a senior enlisted advisor when I was transitioning who said, "Hey, sir, as a part of your transitioning out of the Navy, you need to go and do your VA paperwork." And I was like, "VA paperwork?" Right. Because I don't need to do that. And he goes, "No, you need to do your VA paperwork and get a rating." So I did that as a part of my transition in the last 6 months. And I used a large veterans organization that, is all over the country. They did a free assessment for me. It was a quick thing, took about an hour. And but out of that, I had some significant, service-related things happen to me while I was in those 30 years. So I ended up with an 80% rating just right out of the Navy.
All right. Awesome. And now when you got that rating, do you feel like it was the rating you deserved? And how do you feel like you began to progress in your understanding about ratings, and maybe there was a gap in terms of what you got and what you could possibly receive?
So when you first get the rating, you're happy to get it, right? Mm-hmm. You're happy to get it, and you don't know what you deserve. Actually, you have no clue what you deserve. But what I found out over time, it wasn't until 10 years later that I even went for an increase, and that's through the veterans. And what happened was, you start to figure out that those service-related ailments or conditions that you have over time affect your life more and more. And that's what I started to realize, that there were more effects on me than I realized at the time. People think about the physical ailments, but you don't think about how it affects you socially, how it affects your relationships with others, how it affects your mental health and your mental well-being. And and in the military, we just don't deal with those things. Like, we put that to the side because we got work to do. Well, when you're out and that work goes away, those things start to pop up.
That's good. Now, what was that moment you realized you might be rated lower than you deserve? What was that feeling to know that, hey, I might actually qualify for a higher rating? What were you thinking at that moment?
At the time, I was going through a lot of different changes in my life. And then, like I said, the physical ailments started to impact the things that I could do. I remember, a friend of mine asked me to go play golf, and I was like, I can't play golf anymore. I got all this stuff going on. He's like, man, I didn't know you had all that. And then I became more withdrawn from my friends, those sorts of things. So it just kind of hit you. And then I met Rob, and I was telling him about some things. We worked together, so some things that were going on, and he said, that could be related to what happened, your conditions from the service, and that's how we kind of started going.
What would you say to that veteran that says, I'm fine, I don't want to pursue any type of benefits because there are some of my fellow veterans who are way worse than I am? What would you say to that veteran who is not really thinking about some of the in-service ailments that he might have gotten during his time in service, not realizing they didn't live a regular civilian life?
I would say number one is, the system is there for a reason. It's there to help you with whatever your issue is, so you don't compare what you have to someone else. That's number one. Number two is as you get older, as I'm starting to figure out, what we did in our military careers starts to impact our bodies much more than it did when we were young. And so you have a lifetime of dealing with these different conditions, and you need to make sure you're in a position to have the services and the things you're going to need to get through it.
Now, what was it like trying to navigate the claims process on your own? What did you try, and where did it break down?
So I'm blessed. I've never had to do it on my own.
Okay.
So the first time I did it, like I said, there was a large organization that helped me. They filled it out, and because of my conditions, it just kind of happened. I was one of those vets that it happened at 80% just because of what was going on with my body. The second, and then I went 10 years with like, I don't need to do this. You know, I've gotten what I deserve. I don't need to go any further. And then, like I said, once things started progressing with my body and my thoughts and all those things, I realized that, hey, there's more that you can do to help yourself. And this is about helping yourself in living a whole life,
right?
You know, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And you deserve all of that as you get older.
Yeah, that's great. And I appreciate you sharing that. So let's just go ahead and be upfront. You used somebody before, and then you use Vital Veterans to really get you a maximized rating. What would be the difference between Vital Veterans Consultants and maybe some other companies out there or other professionals out there who are willing to help veterans with their VA claims?
No, number one, Vital Veterans is all in for you. They're all in for you, and really made the process easy. That's number one. Number two is, I think, like a lot of veterans, I didn't understand, and I'll say this over and over again, the total impact of my military service on my life experiences and the things I was going through. And so Vital Veterans helped me understand that, helped me understand the real impact of my service-related conditions on my life.
That's great. Now, what does your rating mean to you practically, day to day, for your family, for your future?
Well, you know, financial security is a good thing. So it's always good to have financial security. So it's increased my financial security, but it's also allowed me to help. In these days, I have grown children, but you know, it's much harder for them to make it in life. So it's allowed me to help my family to live better. And then lastly, not on the financial side, but on the other side, it's caused me to have to face some of the things that I was willing to look away from. Like, I don't have a problem, I'll just keep going. It forced me to look at myself and really deal with issues in my life.
That's good. Now, where were you when you found out you had your 100% rating?
Sitting on the couch watching television. I was just sitting on the couch watching television and scrolling through, and I said, "Oh, let me." I'd actually gone on the VA site to renew a prescription, and then whenever I went on the site, I always checked, and I had gone to 100%.
Wow! And how'd you feel when you saw that particular rating?
Obviously, it's a good feeling, and it also makes you think about, I really deserve this because I put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and also sacrificed a lot for what this means for me and my family.
What would you say to that veteran who hears your voice, hears everything you're saying, they're sitting on the fence thinking about messaging Vital Veterans right now? What would you say to that veteran?
I would say to that veteran, you owe it to yourself and your family to see what you have earned. This is not a gimme. This is what you have earned.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you, sir.